Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Business and AI podcast, where we review business and AI books. Today, we will be nearing the end of our third book, Supremacy, AI, ChatGPT, and the Race That Will Change the World. We'll be looking at chapter 11 today, and it's titled Bound to Big Tech. And in this segment, we'll explore how the once wild and independent spirit of AI research has, over time, become bound to the colossal power and influence of tech giants like Google, Microsoft, and Facebook. This chapter isn't just a story about innovation, it's about how money, scale, and corporate strategy are now steering the fate of AI. So in our discussion today, I will provide you with a detailed summary as usual of this chapter and vivid examples, and then we'll try to balance our review with some critique. So grab your coffee and let's get started. So chapter 11 opens by painting a picture of a new era, one in which the pioneers of AI, once driven by a raw passion for discovery, find themselves tethered to the colossal engines of big tech. This chapter argues that as AI technology matured, the scale of computational resources, funding, and data needed to push the boundaries became available only to a selected few corporate giants. This bound state isn't portrayed as purely negative on the one hand. It has enabled rapid innovation and widespread deployment of AI tools. But on the other hand, it raises a pressing question about control, transparency, and the social impact of technologies that could shape our very lives. The narrative in this chapter explains that while early AI research was characterized by scrappy startups and independent labs, the ever-growing demands of developing cutting-edge systems have led to an inevitable reliance on the deep pockets and vast infrastructure of established companies. For example, the chapter highlights how partnerships between startups like OpenAI and big tech like Microsoft have accelerated product development, but at the cost of relinquishing some independence. These alliances, while fueling breakthroughs, with products like ChatGPT, we also have concentrated power in the hands of a few. Another major sector of this chapter discusses the tension between the original, almost utopian vision of AI research and the harsh realities of corporate strategy. It explores how companies that once promised to develop AI ethically and for the common good gradually found themselves succumbing to market pressures and profit driven imperatives. The author illustrates this with case studies where lofty ideals were compromised by boardroom decisions and shareholder demands. You know, and this is usually a phenomenon that raises questions about whether the promise of democratized AI can truly survive under the weight of monopoly of power. This chapter, doesn't really stop at corporate dynamics. It also delves into the societal repercussions of having a handful of tech giants dictate AI's evolution. This discussion includes potential risks such as reduced competition, bias in algorithmic decision making, and a narrowing of the innovation ecosystem. The author, Olsen, warns that as AI becomes more integrated into everyday life, the lack of diversity in research and control could lead to unforeseen ethical social dilemmas. So, our main takeaway from chapter 11 is that the vast resources required for the state of the art AI have made it nearly impossible for independent research to thrive without the backing of big tech. And with big tech comes the liability like profit. Everybody wants to make profit of something that should have been created ethically. So there is an ongoing tug of war between the promise of AI for societal benefit and the realities of corporate profit motives. So as AI systems become tools for monopolistic giants, questions about fairness, accountability, innovation, or diversity becomes even more urgent than it was before. So let's take a brief look at what worked in this chapter. The author's storytelling shines in this chapter by weaving together anecdotes about boardroom maneuvers and strategic partnerships. The author creates a vivid picture of how big tech has become the gravitational force behind AI innovation. This narrative helps demystify what might otherwise be a dry discussion of funding and resources. This chapter also does a very excellent job of showing both the benefits and pitfalls of corporate involvement in AI. It doesn't simply condemn the influence of big tech, it also acknowledges that without their support, many of the breakthrough technologies we now take for granted might never be materialized. The insights from this chapter, they are incredibly timely as of today. We see headlines like collaborations between OpenAI, Microsoft, and all of that. We also see regulatory crackdowns, you know, related to AI and debates over data privacy. So the author's analysis of corporate power in AI resonates strongly with current discussions about the roles of companies like Google, Microsoft, and other big tech in shaping a digital future. So another look at the challenges, or what could have been better. While the author provides a nuanced look at the impact of big tech, the chapter could benefit from more voices representing smaller independent researchers and startups. Their perspectives might offer a counterbalance to the dominant narrative of corporate hegemony. Also, the author gives a very shallow description of the underlying computational challenges. And if the author would have given a deeper dive into how resource constraints specifically limit innovation, that might have added a richer depth, to this narrative in chapter 11. Also, the author touches on ethical concerns and societal impacts, but doesn't really emphasize on potential regulatory solution. So, how is this relevant to us today? For many of us, AI isn't just an abstract concept. It's something that shapes our daily lives, from the apps we use to the way we work. The concentration of AI development in the hands of a few massive corporations has direct implications for data privacy, innovation, diversity, and even employment and unemployment, as the case may be. Recent headlines about Microsoft's deep investment in OpenAI or the EU's step towards tighter AI regulation underscores that these issues are not just theoretical. The author's insights encourages us to question who truly controls the technology we depend on and whether our future will be shaped by a few corporate titans. So, what actionable advice or insights can we draw from this chapter? I think the first thing should be that we evaluate our tech ecosystem. Whether you are a business leader or a tech enthusiast, take a hard look at which platforms and providers you depend on. Are you locked into one company's ecosystem? Diversifying your tools and sources can safeguard you against sudden shifts in corporate strategy and regulatory change. Also, we'd need to start advocating for transparent AI practices. So, if you're in a position to influence policy or workplace practices, champion initiatives for transparency and accountability in AI, support legislation or community-driven standards that demand clear reporting on how AI systems are trained and deployed. Also, another actionable advice would be to support diverse innovation. Look for ways to support smaller startups or open source AI projects. By engaging with a broader innovation ecosystem, you help build a counterbalance to the dominance of big tech and promote a healthier, more diverse tech landscape. So this is it so far for chapter 11. We are going to now round up with questions for reflection from this chapter. And I have 3 questions out here. The first one would be, in a world where the majority of AI breakthroughs come from a few giant corporations, what would an ideal decentralized AI ecosystem look like? It's just a question for thought, but I would also like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Our second question now would be, how can individual consumers and small businesses push back against vendor lock-in and promote a more competitive marketplace for all AI tools? And this is very interesting. I thought it was very interesting because most of the AI tools that get all of the hype, are those that have been affiliated with big tech. For example, ChatGPT has partnership with Microsoft, right? Grok is owned by Elon Musk, who owns Twitter as well, X. So every other day there is like a new model. There's like all this hype on the news, but nobody ever really hears about small startups. So my question for reflection again, the second question: how can individual consumers and small businesses push back against vendor lock-in and promote a more competitive marketplace for all AI tools? So my third question for reflection now would be, considering the ethical implications of concentrated AI power, what steps can governments or communities take to ensure that the benefits of AI are shared broadly and not monopolized by a few? I'll take that question again. Considering the ethical implications of concentrated AI power, what steps can the governments or communities take to ensure that the benefits of AI are broadly shared and not monopolized by a few? So that's our third question for reflection. So this wraps up our deep dive into chapter 11, Bound to Big Tech. Today we've uncovered how the vast resources of established tech giants have become both the engine and the chain on AI's rapid development. The author's exploration leaves us with a powerful, if not unsettling, reminder that while corporate power can drive innovation at lightning speed, it also raises critical questions about control, fairness, and our collective future. So in our next episode, we will continue this journey by moving into chapter 12, titled Mythbusters, where the author takes us on the prevailing myths around AI, debunking oversimplified narratives and challenging us to think more critically about what these technologies can and should do for the society. So I'll see you on the next one.